everyone, Paul ISM. Welcome to part 5 of our Hasegawa 124 Lancia O37 build. Final part today. We've got a lot to get through, so we're only going to stick with all the interesting, important points and not linger on the things I've shown before. There's other videos on the channel that can show these more in depth, like the polishing and decal and things like that. So if you get stuck at all, go back through the channel, have a look, and look for my actual guides on doing these type of things. But yeah, final assembly. We get this finished today. A couple of lessons learned. There is a couple of lessons learned. We'll chat with them as we go through the build. And of course, we get to pick our next subject, our next build, which I'm going to decide today. So let's jump straight in with the build and get going. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you click the little bell notifications, get notified of all our latest videos. Click the like button and leave a comment. I do read and reply to all the comments and appreciate everybody that takes the time to leave a comment on the channel. And of course, if you scroll up in the description, there's a link to a big long list of all the items I use in my videos. So if you see anything, you should be able to find it in there. Right then, so straight in with the polishing. We've got our micro mesh. We're using the 8000 grit here. We're going to go around, take a little bit of the thickness of the 2K off, and then come in with our compound UMP polishing system and get that shine back. So there's a full video on this you can go back and look at on the channel. Obviously, if we do it today, we're going to be here all day, but it's a case of flatten back the 2K with the micro mesh, then coming in with the polish system, using the compound first, then the polish, and buffing it up to a nice high shine, as you can see. Here, it works well together. Our ultimate polish system works absolutely fantastic. It's what I've used on all my cars and bikes for the last year or so. And it does bring them up to a beautiful, beautiful high shine. It really, really does. So I made the mistake of using a different sander on this. We'll chat about the end. I used a 3M tri-zip pads, and as you can see, they burn through the paint. We'll chat about this a little bit more at the end of the video. But we're going to try and fix this. So froze it there. You can see it on the side where it's taking the paint right through. So how are we going to fix that? It's 2K'd. We can't really paint it. So we've got our Edin 400 permanent marker in blue. And we're just going to dab it along the line. And to the eye, if you don't angle it, you can't really see it. It's a temporary fix or a make-do fix, really. But this is a good lesson in don't change something if it works well for you. So I bought these pads ages ago. I used them. I burned through paint. I vowed never to use them again. There was a bit of an online chat the other day about them, and I thought, you know what, I'll give them a go again. And they're just too aggressive for scale models, in my opinion. So there we go. A bit of blue marker pen in place. It hides the sin a little bit. If you angle it, you can see it. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Lesson learned. Stick to what you know. We'll have a little bit of chat about this kind of stuff at the end, about changing up things a little bit. So we've also gone through a few of the little raised details on the roof, and we can just touch it on. This is more common to do. It's quite easy to do this kind of stuff. It just means you need to take a little bit more time in what you're doing. So definitely a lesson learned in taking our time. Once we've used all the polish system, the compound and the polish, we come with our toothbrush and get any remnants of dry polish and compound out from all the panel lines. And again, preparation's key. We want to get all that out. We don't want to be fitting everything together later on, and also seeing that we've left polish in there. Now on this as well, whilst polishing, another calamity, because we've separated this body a bit, it's lost a little bit of its strength and actually went and snapped the bottom part of the windscreen where my finger is just there. So glued it back together with a bit of CA glue. You can see it. It's not blatantly obvious, thankfully, but there you go, you can see it right there, a little split right in the middle. It's one of those things, it's just tough luck. Again, taking our time, lesson learned. I was going to show a video on how I fixed it, but I literally put a dab of CA glue in there, pushed it together, and that was it. Nothing really to show at all. But there's our body panels assembled, and we can crack on with some other work. So our lights now, we've got our rear lenses and our front indicator side lights as well. So we're popping these on here. They're getting a little bit of masking and preparation being sprayed with Tamiya LP 53 and 52, red and orange. So we're popping them on here to make them easy to spray. They're going to need masking as well, so we'll mask up and spray the red first and come in later and spray the orange. Some PE now. We've got our PE window wipers. These things are the work of the devil. We've got our Zuron PE shears to cut them off. And also on the bench already, we've got our Mudflap mounts for the rear end of the car. So, yeah, again, something I've tried before. I've tried to make these before. They are most frustrating as hell to make. And there was certainly no difference in this. So they need several bends in them. And in my opinion, you need one of these bending tools. This is a Small Shops 5.5-inch bending machine. Very, very handy tool to have. Not the cheapest, they're about 50 odd pounds, but it's a well worth investment. So it's a case of popping it in, using the supplied razor blade, fold it up to get almost 90 degrees. You don't want quite 90 degrees, and turn it round. Do the other side, fold it up like so. Like I say, it's pretty easy work, but it is very, very fiddly. We've got our Tamiya tweezers here, pliers. Our tweezers, there we go, the HG straight tweezers. I'm just going to bend over the ends around the part we've just folded over to make the very end of the wiper. There was a few swear words in this part. A few of the guys that were with me in the hangout, yeah, witnessed a few cursory words. And then we assembled the actual blade section as well. Pop it through, bend over the tab, a little bit of glue. And there we go. For the most part, there is one of the wipers done. And the other one's almost a mirror image. You just got an extra bar in it. And we'll do that off camera. But these are very, very fiddly. They do look better. I will admit they do look a lot better. But very, very fiddly. Now, we needed some primer. And we also need some paint. And I thought, two birds, one stone. We used Mr. Finishing Surface of 1500 Black. Thinned with level and thinner. About 70%. And through the apex, 0.35, 18 psi. And we're going to lay this down as a primer and as a black for some of the parts. I like to use this for some black parts. I needed to do it anyway, so these are the door handles, license plate holder, etc. And then we've got the light pods, only priming in black as well. So, two birds, one stone, job done. While we're there, we grabbed the Tamiya lacquer primer TS spray as well. Decanted out the can. Thinned with the Tamiya thinner and through the apex 0.35 needle again, 18 psi, to prime up the front grille. I forgot this needed spraying in yellow, so this was an afterthought. So for speed, I quickly primed it in the lacquer primer, so literally an hour later, we could come in and spray it yellow. Got some Tamiya LP clears now, so 0.35 needle apex, 18 psi, 60% thinner, 40% paint. We're putting the red on now. We've masked off half of the rear lens. So we'll spray the red, let that dry, unmask it, and spray the orange on top because it won't have any detrimental effect to the red, but then it'll put down the orange for our indicator repeater as well. And just underneath are the front ones, which are masked up because we don't need red on those. They're just yellow in preparation for when we come back now with our yellow. So we've got a few drops of LP. I think it's 53. It is yellow. And we've had a little bit of the Tamiya lacquer thinner with retarder. Give it a good mix up. It's quite thin paint, so you want to put it on nice thin layers. So you see my spray booth needs a really good clean. Come to the end of a project, it's always like this. We'll give it a good clean up today and get back on track for our next build. So there we go, we've unmasked everything, and now we can come with our clear orange and spray the indicator repeater part of our lenses. So again, nice thin coat. You've got to build this up really nice and slow. It does dry lightning fast out, so it doesn't take long to get coverage. And just put a coat on, leave it for a few minutes, come back, put another one on. You're probably looking at 5 or 6 subsequent coats to get it fully covered. We now have some Tamiya AS12 for all our silver parts. So these are the hinges for the bonnet and engine cover. And we've got our light, what do they call these? Light, let me see, clusters? No, they're not clusters. Buckets, light buckets? We'll go with that. So these are the actual reflectors. That's the word I'm looking for. The light reflectors for the front lenses and the spotlights. And then we've got the original Zero Paints yellow for the car, which we're putting a few coats down on the grille on the very front. Like I said, it was an afterthought, but it was quickly rectified. Got some deluxe materials glue and glaze here to put our reflectors in. So we'll pop those in place, let the glue and glaze do its job. It's a nice slow set. so we can get them all in place and make sure they're all nice and straight and level. Then we can come in later with our lens cover and glue those in place. So I like to use this stuff. It goes nice and tacky when it's been on the bench for a little bit. So my suggestion is get it out, put it on your paint pot, let it sit for 5-10 minutes. It will really go up and it gets a lot more tacky, and yeah, it really does grab the part a little bit better when it's sort of semi-dried. It does work really, really well. So again, a bit more drying time, we can level everything off. We can then put them onto the actual car as well. We decided to go with the light pod for a bit of a different look today. It adds a bit more interest to the model. And they only go one way round. There's a big lug and a little lug. Pop them in. And again, using a slow drying glue, we can get them all straight. Make sure everything's in place where we want it, rather than rushing with the ACA glue and wrecking everything. UV glue now, this is becoming one of my favourite tools. Absolutely fantastic. First time properly using it, and we're going to use it on our interior glass in a bit, which it works fantastic. So 5-second fix, UV glue with a UV light in the end of it. Really cheap stuff as well, about £2.60 on eBay. I think there's a link in my tools and products I use. So a couple of dabs where the grill is going to go, where it can't be seen. Dries nice and clear, so if you can see it, it's not too bad. And you can remove the excess later on. So it gives a good bond, not quite as good as CA glue, but it's not quite as delicate. And you can kind of rectify mistakes with this. So this is our freshly painted grill in Mr. Surfacer Black like we did before. So we'll pop in place, push it home, have a look. Yeah, looks fine. Nothing squoze out. Squeezed? Squoozing? Push it fully home with a cocktail stick. Then we come in with the UV light. And we can dry it off. If you need a couple of dabs behind, just put a couple of little dabs behind. That will hold it even better. And once we're happy, put the UV light on. Give it a few seconds on each part. And it's a quick, clean, simple way of gluing parts in place. It does work really, really well. So it reckons 5 seconds. And then glues it in. And there we go. We can repeat that for the front lens, grill as well. A couple of strategic dabs. Doesn't need a lot at all. Basically, apply this about the same amount you would CA glue. Just a little dab or line where you need it. A dab or a line, oh dear. So put a slight bend in this, because it is ever so slightly bent in as you go. We'll pop one end in. There we go. Use our clean cocktail stick again. Let's push it fully home. And then we'll use the cocktail stick to hold it down while we hit it with our UV glue. And again, quick, fuss-free, clean, a lot cleaner than using CA glue. The amount of models I've ruined with CA glue is beyond a joke. On these exterior parts, I've started using more and more PVA-based glue, but the drying time can be a bit of an issue. So this, for parts like this, just speeds up the process whilst keeping things relatively clean and easy. There we go. Well worth trying out, in my opinion. We've got a little Griffone decal to go on the front as well. So in this case, just line it up, get it in place, use our ultimate decal solutions, set it in place. We've got the decal trees here, which are an invaluable tool. Pop it in place. Once you're happy it's set, get rid of all the excess moisture from behind the decal and set it in place with your decal solution of choice. There we go, a little bit of the UMP normal and a little bit of strong on one of our water pens from Derwent. Well, they're not ours, but they're ones I use. Make sure it's fully seated and then leave it to dry. Now, the rears of our lights, we've got some bare metal foil. We've got the high chrome finish. Cut a little bit off with our Tamiya craft knife. Lay it on the back of our painted lenses that we painted and sprayed with earlier. And this will give us our reflector So it's a case of putting a piece on that's a little bit too big, and then we trim it to size and then glue it in place. So we use cotton bud to burnish the edges down and the center. Then put it on the bench, right way up. Nice fresh blade and a knife, and we cut right up to the part, all the way around all 4 edges. And there we go, instant light reflectors. Makes life a lot easier. It's a bit quicker, and again, a bit cleaner as well. I used this for the first time really on light lenses on the 959 that I did, and it worked very, very well. And it's worked well on all the builds so far after. Bare metal foil is quite a versatile product. Once you've done your light reflectors on the back, we'll grab our Edding black marker pen and we'll edge all the lights at the edge. That gives the impression of a rubber seal and adds a little bit more depth to the lights as well. You can do this all the lights if you wish, but sometimes not all of them benefit from it. But lights like this certainly do. It just adds a little bit more depth and realism to the model. There we go, one down, another to go. We've got the black plate on the model already. It's the back and part of it. A little bit of the glue and glaze again on top. Make sure you got them the right way around. Push it home, let it dry, and repeat for the other side. Job done. Lenses for the headlights now. So what we've done here is applied a little bit of the UV glue in the lens. These are handed, so make sure you get the right side. Pop a couple of dabs in, hit it with the UV light. Job done. Nice and quick, fuss free and clean. Really does work well. There you go, 5-second fix. Like I say, you can get it on eBay really easily, cheaply. And then repeat that on the actual spotlight pod as well. Just make sure you get the light lens orientated the right way, so you're just dropping it in place where it needs to go. And make sure it's the right way round. Make sure you don't have it back to front. And there we go. Push it in place. Make sure it's fully home. And then we hit it with the UV glue. And it's nice and securely glued in place again. So you can see the beauty of it is you can pick it back up, reposition it. With CA glue, once it's on, that's it. You're pretty much done. There we go, hit them all with the UV lens again, the light again. Let them dry, and there we go. There's our light lenses in. Fuss free, clean, easy, and simple. I would highly recommend this UV glue. It's well worth trying. Like I said, I do have a link of my products in the description below, so it is there, so you can go and have a look. So the bonnet pins, the kit comes with decals. We've got the Studio 27 aftermarket set, so a little dab of glue and glaze again. In place. We've already got the other side on. Pop that in place, put it to one side, let it dry. We've got some new Edding alcohol marker pens here, or paint markers they're called. My buddy Alan picked these up, highly recommend them. I picked them up and they are very, very good. Nice high metal finish paints, and they do paint colours as well, reds, etc. Only word of warning is once you put it on, let it dry overnight before you touch it. It is quite delicate. So the 2 center lights on the front have 2 decals. So again, pop it on, let decal solutions do the work, fully burnish your home, make sure you've got the edges over, make sure everything's centered, and these are pretty fuss free. Cartograph decals in the kit are very good. We've got the rear grille cover now. So this was painted in Mr. Surfacer black. We then used a supplied template in the kit, same as we did for the tyres, to do the Pirelli marking on the back, sprayed in Tamiya flat white. Looks absolutely fantastic. It looks much better than the decal would. And we've got some very nice and tacky glue and glaze here now. You can see how tacky that is. Gets a lot more substance and purchase to it. And we're going to pop our rear lights on. Masking now, one of the most boring jobs of car modelling is masking off for the window surround. So we've got some Tamiya 1mm tape, which will go around and get the major outline done. Burnish it down with a cotton bud. Make sure it's fully home. Make sure you fold all the lines around properly. If you're not happy, peel it back off, reposition it. Always detack your tape. Every piece of tape I put on a model, I detack on my finger or my head. Yes, you heard me. My forehead is fantastic for detacking tape. And we're just going to carefully follow it around. Luckily on this, it's only the front and rear screen, so it didn't take that long to do. Just get the job done right. The more time you spend here, the better it will look. So if you're not happy, take it off, start again. It is a boring job, but it's one of the most prominent features you'll see on a finished model. So it's definitely time well spent. Okay, make sure you get all the edges, all the curves correct. Once you're happy, burnish it all down. Trim all the edges. And use your tweezers to manipulate parts around. You've got curves, try and use smaller bits. It makes life a little bit easier sometimes. Use a smaller bit to get the curve, and then you can use multiple pieces if needed. Pop them in place, trimming the excess off, and you can use those bits as your smaller parts to get around the curves where required. So we're using some of the Azu tape here as well, but this is mostly the Tamiya tape. Azu tape's just as good quality, it just comes in slightly different sizes, which is very, very handy. We've got some smaller and in between sizes of the Tamiya. We're then coming with the 3mm Tamiya now to start bringing the edges out from the masking. Again, the Tamiya tape, it's absolutely phenomenal quality, as good as the normal 6, 10 and 18mm. And it just makes life so much easier. You can sit and cut strips all day long. This is a definite convenience product that's made, it makes a huge difference. So we're just going up to the existing tape we put on to get the demarcation line, and this will take us to the 6mm tape, which we then go to cling film and then get the painting done. Quick and easy and simple. And there we go. Actually, we're going to 10mm. We went straight to 10mm on this. It's going up in graduations to get the masking done. And again, burnish it down with a cotton bud. There we go. Easily done. UMP tape dispenser makes life a lot easier. So we've sprayed up all the windows now. They were sprayed in UMP black. UMP black primer, sorry. We've got our front windscreen now. We're popping it in place where it needs to go. We're using a glove, so we don't need to clean the window as much as possible. We've got our 5-second UV glue. Just going to put a dab in each corner. Spin it round. Hit it with the UV light. This is where this is a godsend, because you would need to use CA glue on this. Using PVA, you'd be sitting there all day waiting for it to dry. This is just instant. 5-second fix. It holds it in perfectly. A lot less fuss and risk and mess than CA glue. So we're just holding this on for a little bit longer because I want to make sure this is definitely fully cured. And there we go. There's that side. And then we can go to the other, or add a little bit more if required. That's the beauty of this. If you need to, you can take it all back off again. It is good. If you do get any of the product on the glass, UMP airbrush cleaner does take it off. So if you get the on before you hit it with the UV glue, the UV light, sorry, wipe it clean, and then you can move on to the next bit, like so. And we'll just do corner by corner until we're happy. Like I say, for £2.60, this product is fantastic. It really is good. There we go, a little bit of excess glue, we've wiped it off. And then push it down, make sure it's the other side of the Q-tip or cotton bud. Hit it with the UV light. And there we go. I thought I'd show the whole process on this front screen, and then put the other one in off camera on the side. But there we go, just 2 pieces in, and it's pretty much held that in place. We then put some at the front piece as well. So pick a strategic point where it's got the most clear overhang. Oh, there's my head. Look at all those grey hairs. Oh my god. Shocking. Add a generous bit at the front. Like I say, if you get a bit too much, just wipe it off. There we go. Like I say, you can remove excess with UMP airbrush cleaner on a cotton bud should you need to. 5 seconds, and that is that glued in place. Have a little look to the side. Can you see it? Nope. That's good. And then another couple of strategic points, and that is our front screen glued in place. Like I say, well worth trying this stuff. I know it's been out for a long time. I tried this years ago, and I'm talking 5-6 years ago when it first kind of appeared on the market as a hobby tool. It never quite dried enough for me. It always stayed tacky. This stuff dries almost rock hard. It dries from almost plastic. It was also quite expensive back then, but a lot more of these pen type tool affairs have appeared over the last few years. I think Bondic is one of the most popular brand names. I think the cheaper one, this one, works just as well. We use it on the side glass as well. It's just a quick, convenient tool, and it's really not expensive either at all. Very, very handy. It works really well. And it's clean and fuss free as well. Okay, the window wipers. Spawn of the devil. These things are. We're a little bit off camera because I was getting a bit frustrated with these. So we've popped a little bit of UV glue into the hole. There you go, as you can see, where the wipers go. There's no real lug on these. It's a little bit of PE. So it's quite hard to get them to glue. So I found this the easiest way because you can position it, then pop them in place. So we did that with 2 of them. A lot of swearing involved there. Then got some glue and glaze for our filler caps. And these are orientated one way, so refer to the instructions there for that. Pop those in place. On any exterior parts like this, my advice is use a PVA-based glue as much as you possibly can. You do not want to be getting CA glue on at these late stages. Got the rear pins now for the bodywork. Again, a little bit of glue and glaze. No, we haven't. This is the engine cover hinges. Now, what I decided to do on this is do them in one piece. You'll see it at the end. So when we slide out the panel, they stay in place. It was a simple and easiest way of doing them. So we just put them in, CA glued them in place, and we can pull the engine cover off at the back like so. They will stay in place, so it's not going to look the best when the engine cover's off, but it'll look pretty much spot on once it's on. So it's a compromise. I could have cut them in half, but I don't think they would have sit right. I think they would have a little bit odd. We're going to paint the inside of the cockpit sidewalls in black. I've seen contrasting pictures of this being carbon, like we did the Kevlar carbon on the door cards, and others have been black. So looking at it, I thought, you're not going to see it. It's easier and quicker to paint it black. So we've got some Vallejo model colour, thinned a little bit of water with one of the Tamiya flat brushes, and this will do the job just fine. So a couple of light coats on each side, and that will work perfect. We can then assemble the centre part of the bodywork on 2 locating points underneath, which we will paint yellow later on. Now, another thing, some of these cars, the lower half where those 2 holes are about to locate here, along that sill there is silver. So I've seen some of them in silver and some of them in yellow. Now, I think the silver looks a bit odd, so I chose to keep them yellow. But this is one of the most positive fitting bodies I think I've ever worked on. It holds itself on so well. It's amazing. It fits on. It literally clicks in place, like so. Once you're happy you got it lined up, push them fully home, and there we go. There's the body on. Like I say, we do paint those lugs yellow later on, so they do blend in with the bodywork. But it's such a good body. It's a highly recommended kit, this. It's a very underrated kit, and it goes together really, really well. So there's our centre part on, all lined up, all ready to go. I'm going to quickly test fit the rear parts. As you see, we've got our hinges at the top are just glued in place. We've got a little bit of PE slither that we added underneath on the engine compartment cover itself. So there's one on the top, so we just flex, there we go, flexing it so it slides in. Then we can do the sides, and that gives just enough friction to hold everything in place. And you know what? It actually butts up and joins really, really well. It doesn't even look like it's been cut. Looks like it's part of the kit like that. And that large rear window gives us a fantastic view of that wonderful engine in the back. So there we go. Happy with that. Not too bad at all. Making sure it's all lined up, which it has. Glass is nice and clean. We've got no fingerprint on it today because we use gloves. No glue marks because of the UV glue. And here's the front section of the car as well. So again, this locates at the sides there. I'm a little bit off camera, I do apologise. Push the sides in, and then there's two little pins in the middle, which just push home. And there we go. It's a very positive body shell to put on. Right, so we've got the rear grille to go on now. We've got some of the Rocket Rapid from Deluxe Materials. A couple of little dots and dabs here and there to hold everything in place. Then we can drop it in place, let it dry, and away we go. Could have used the UV glue, just pick this up for convenience. As long as you're very careful about where and how you apply it, it won't have any detrimental effect. Problem is, it's a one-shot job. Once you drop this in, you're not getting it off without pulling paint off. So make sure you get it all lined up. Slide one side in, push both sides in together, and the centre. And there we go, job done. Underneath the front shell piece now, or clamshell, whatever you want to call it. Should have really painted this black. Bit of an afterthought. You can't see it. I'm not going to take it off because there's not much to see under here anyway. We're putting the wheel arches in. But yeah, in hindsight, retrospect, I should have painted it in the Vallejo black just for continuity. It is what it is. You will never see this. It'll never come off because, like I say, there's no real detail under there to show. There's a radiator, which isn't fantastic, and some pretty poor suspension components. So I'd never understand fully why Hasegawa had this part removable and not the rear section. I think it would have been better the other way round, have the rear section separate and the front section moulded in place. But there we go, make sure everything's lined up. It is, works perfect. Then we can go onto the rear wheel arches as well. Pop these in place. Make sure they're lined up. They are handed. They only really go one way. And there we go. And then our mud flaps will go on in a little bit. Got the intakes here at the side. Very, very careful CA glue. This way you need to be very careful now. So strategic points. If you get any excess, if you're very quick with a pointed cotton bud, you can wipe it off with very little detrimental effect. There we go. And there's one on. Be very careful gluing parts like this on. One slip and you've ruined your body. And then we've got two locating points on the front for our spotlight pod. So a little dab of CA glue again, the Deluxe Materials Rapid Rocket. And we can get our light pod in place like so. There we go. Glued in place, looking the part, looks very, very good. If you're clever, and I've done it before, you could magnetize those so you can take them on and off. I did it on one of my Esco Cosworths a while back, but it'll never come off because I think it looks good on this one. Mudflaps, we've got our Tamiya decal scissors. We're cutting out the templates that are supplied in the instructions, like so. We'll then off this up to our sheet of vinyl that came with the kit. Use our knife to get all the detail points, and then we'll draw around it with our pencil. Then we can cut it out by hand using the scissors and our knife again. So handy to get these stencils, handy to get the vinyl material in the kit. We've got our Staedtler pencil here. There you go, there's a picture of it. And of course, for your pencil, you need your storage device as well. And there's my lovely Monkey pencil case, which is fantastic. I love my pencil case. And there we go. Once we've got the outline drawn, we can cut them out with the decal scissors. Get the majority off and then get the rest of it with our knife in a bit. So you've got to do two of these, one for each side. But it's a nice touch to get. There were PE ones included with the photo etch set. I think these look a little bit better. They are quite thick material in real life. Maybe not this thick. It's not scale thick. I just think this looks better. That was my opinion. Either way you do it, it'll look good. Just take your time, get the shapes cut out properly. And they do add a nice bit of detail to the back end of the car. So some careful CA glue application on that rear mud guard. Then we line up our mud flap like so. It goes right to the edge. Make sure it's straight. in position. There are two little locators on the back of that mudguard. Use our micro brush at the top to push that back in. Another very handy tool. Once we're happy, we can repeat the other side, get them both in place, and then we've got our P brackets to pop on there too. So we've already got one piece ready to go here. It's all bent to shape before we painted it. A couple of dabs of CA glue at the bottom. Again, there's two little locator points, and you cut out the tabs for these before. So we put it in place, we angle it down, we grab our CA glue again, a little bit of a dab on there, and use our tweezers to push it up to the car body itself. Glue it in place. Repeat for the other side, job done. Front ones, again, we follow the stencil in the instructions. There's two options, two different types of mudguard, mud flap. We chose this one just because I quite like the look of these. And again, pop it in place, one shot job, make sure you get it lined up quickly. Pop it in place, let the CA glue grab it, and job done. Repeat it for the other side, and there's our mud flaps done. At this stage in the game now, make sure you're not getting any CA glue on your fingers. This is the point where it's really easy to destroy all that hard work you've done on your body. Final polish up with a clean cloth. We've got some UMP shine on there as well, which is our wax spray product. It's looking the part. I'm pretty happy with this. We've got a few mistakes on there. We were burned through paint. The 2K is a little bit thick in places. These are all points we're going to deal with in our next build. But overall, it's looking good. We've got one of the, let me remember, Studio 27 antennas now. The hole's already pre-drilled in the top of the body. So there's the mount. There's the actual antenna. A little tiny dab of CA glue. Pop it in place. And let the CA glue do its work. Pop it in, line it up. Make sure it's straight and let it set. And again, when you come with your polish cloth, now's the time to be careful. You don't be snacking those window wipers or the bonnet pins or the antenna. So be very, very careful. Last few decals now. So we've got a sun strip for the front screen. Line it up. Get it in place. Quite tricky to do. But again, take your time. Get it all lined up. Remove all the excess moisture. And we're all good. Quite hard to see there, the black on the black interior. But it is there, trust me. So several decals to apply. We've got a couple on the back window as well. Just apply them like normal decals. Just remember to get the adhesive off the clear. It's a lot more visible on the clear parts than put them on a painted part. So make sure you give them a final rub over once they're dry to get rid of any of that adhesive. Just refer to your instructions with your decals. Remove all the moisture. There's a couple on the side windows as well. I don't tend to use any product on these. I just let the decal solution, adhesive hold them on. But make sure you clean it up. Don't leave any adhesive on because it looks awful. And there we go. There is a finished build. It didn't come out too bad. It could have been better. It could have been worse. I'm pretty happy with it. So this was primed in UMP white primer. We used a zero paint set for this. The cartograph decals were fantastic. Absolutely phenomenal. We clear coated it in Gravity 2K Clear. Various LP paints used all throughout on the engine, the interior. We added seat belts. We used a Studio 27 detail upset on it. Polished it all with a micro mesh and the UMP polish system. And like I say, overall, I'm pretty happy with it. We did a few good things. Cutting the rear clamshell off worked really, really well. I've got a picture of that right at the end in a minute. A few things I shouldn't have done. A few things I should have done. But I think it could have turned out a lot worse. But I'm more than happy with it. It's definitely a lesson learned on, don't change what you know works well. And sometimes adding things is good. So I'm glad I cut the engine off, the cover off. I'm glad I added a bit more detail to the interior and to the engine. And it's something I'll definitely continue in future builds. But it's a fantastic rally car, an absolutely stunning kit from Hasegawa. Well worth a go of building. So we'll take that clamshell off the back. Not as high quality pictures as the rest because they were an afterthought. But they look good. There's a little bit of detail in there, not a massive amount. I could have added more, but overall, I'm happy with how it looks. So that came out well. Not as good as it could have been. A couple of mistakes. A couple of things I knew I shouldn't have done, and I did. And I'm going to stick to the way I do them in future. And we're going to pay more attention in future as well. I seem to pay a little bit more attention to the interiors and the engine and that. Try my best to add a bit more detail, make it a bit more interesting. Things like cutting the rear body shell off and things like that. Definitely added a bit more interest to it. But then I've gone a bit lax on like the 2K. The 2K went on way too thick. I tried that different sanding pad, which was a bad idea. I've used that before. I knew not to, but just had to try it, and it burned through the paint. Something absolutely ridiculous. I didn't see any improvement at all on the paintwork where it had worked well. So yeah, we won't be using those again. We'll stick to what we know, and I think we'll stick with trying to apply the same amount of detail to the interior and the running gear as we have in the last few builds, while trying to maintain the quality of the 2K outside. So slow down the 2K. We're not going to put it on as quickly or as thick, because I watched back the video of me doing the Supra, which I did the Gravity 2K review on, and we were building this, and I'm spraying on a lot slower and more purposeful with less paint going down, less clear coat going down. And when I watched the video to this one, part 2, I was hosing it on really quick, traveling across the body quick. I think I got a little bit lax in how I'm doing, so I'm going to take a step back on the 2K the next build. A little bit thinner. If it needs, 4 coats, whatever. There's no set rule how many you actually need to do, and we'll get a better finish out the gun, which then leaves us less work to do with the micro mesh and the polishing. So that's the idea for the next build. But it came out well. I'm pretty happy how it came out. It's a pretty looking car. A few mistakes here and there, but overall happy with it. It's come out pretty well. There we go then. So if you've got any comments or questions, pop them in the comments down below. I do read them all. I have trouble replying to everybody, so I reply to questions now. Everybody else, I'll give you a heart for commenting, because I appreciate all the feedback. I really do. I'll do a bench update in a day or so. We'll have a chat about my next project, which I'm not 100% decided on yet. I've got an idea what I'm going to do. So we'll have a chat about that in the next couple of days as well. There we go. I'm about to go live in 50 minutes. I've got this video to edit, so I need to be very, very quick and yeah, get it gone. So as always, check out International Scale Model Facebook page and forum, umpretail.com. You can get a lot of the stuff I use in my videos, and there's a big long list in the description of the video down below as well of everything you can where you can get it from mostly as well. Check out my Paul ISM Instagram page and Facebook page as well, where all my personal modelling work gets shared. I use Facebook more. And of course, check out the Live the Bench page for the live show news and the Off Air Hangout group for Off Air Hangouts as well. Stay tuned for later videos. Make sure you sub to the channel, give it a thumbs up, click the bell notification, and of course, as I said, please leave a comment. I do appreciate everyone's feedback. And there we go. Everyone stay safe. Have a good day. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.